There was a time before time when the dream of what now exists was begun. And each one of you were absolutely present at that time. And each one of you holds that dream complete within your own memory. And as you become human again and again, you bring bits and pieces of that dream as you create it within the world of illusion. And that dream becomes physically materialized matter. It becomes trees and shrubbery, becomes sky and ocean, becomes creatures upon the earth, becomes yourself. And within the midst of that dreaming, there also exists, because it is a necessary part of the dream, the forgetting, the darkness, the pain, the confusion, the dimming of the light. Indeed, in some places it seems as though there is no light at all, does it not? The vast errors that you believe you have committed, the sins, if you will, of times past and times present. All of that is part of the tapestry of the dream. Nothing is amiss. Nothing has gone wrong. The dream embraces both forgetting and remembering, both life and death, as you describe it and understand it in your human terms. It embraces both grief and joy, marriage and dissolution. There is nothing upon the planet that is here that does not belong here. And that, dear ones, includes yourselves. Nothing that I say to you today will be new. I only come to remind you of what you already hold within the sanctuary of your own being. The wisdom, the perfect loving, the peace of the dream that is yours. What is required now in each of your lives, or you would not be honoring us with your presence today, as that the embers of your remembering be fanned into flame. Not because there is a forthcoming crisis, not to forestall doom, for these are fear's projections, not love's, not mine, and hopefully not yours. One does not remember one's own divine angelic nature to forestall disaster. One remembers one's own nature because that is who you are. That's the truth of your being. That's the joy of your human life. That's the opening of your heart. And the fulfillment of the dream that brought you here, and the dream that has called you back again and again and again from the oneness and bliss of home. And so the task becomes not how you can defend yourself, not how you can solve the difficulties of your life, but how can you remember who you are? And in so remembering, how can you then bring your dream into full flower, into existence? Within the human framework, how can you bring the divine essence of your being, consciously, willingly, joyfully? That may seem to be either a confounding requirement, or something too simple to be addressed. Well is neither and both. One can intellectualize, as you have all, to your great discouragement, discovered, anything at all. The mind has a capacity to grasp, to understand. And as I say to you, you were part of the original dream that created all that is here. Not just in this place, but in the galaxies that surround you. The mind can say, yes, all right. I understand the meaning of those words. But understanding the meaning of words does not begin to scratch the surface of the vastness of which we speak. So as we spend time together, I urge you two things. One, to relax your minds a little. There's nothing you have to grasp and hold in your memory. This is all being recorded. It will be available to you. And that is a holy utilization of technology. And the other thing is to allow yourself to be present intuitively. Listen with your heart. There are many things that we will say one to the other today that the mind will, by habit, want to rush in and limit, or to polish, to make sensible, or in some manner to alter, lest you be embarrassed, lest you be accused of daydreaming, of foolish fantasy, or of insanity. Let us together bless that part of the mind that has been such a faithful watchdog to the human being you were supposed to become and have done your level best to be. And let it sit quietly in the corner while the angel self can move into the joyous task of self-remembering. Already as I say this, the mind is saying, well, what will I do with that at the end of the day? I have been asked many times, what do we do with this, Emmanuel, in the real world? And my response must always be, it depends, dear one, on what you consider the real world to be. Is it the world of mind's definition? Then you will have a great deal of difficulty with this. And if the real world is who you are, and the holy sense of your being that you have always held somewhere in the sanctuary of your inner secret altar, where you knew and still know the truth of your beingness. If you mean that world, then it is cause for constant celebration. Do you live in two worlds? Yes, in a sense you do. Though ultimately, of course, the purpose of the angel is to bring these two worlds into the place of oneness, not to the detriment of either, but to the honoring of both. But for now, let us for a moment honor the disturbed mind. Yes, intellect. There is a world that requires thinking, linear consciousness, the adaptability to the illusion of limitation, of boundaries, of borders, of differences, of otherness. And at the same time, while that world is spinning its way to its own destiny, there's another world that embraces all of that with infinite patience of perfect love. And that too is who you are. And it is that reality that we explore together today, clothed in the language of the human perception or misperception, of course. Never let there be a demand that says, I must be now the angel. I must be holy. I must be a different person. But that's not why you've come. You've come to walk with 2 feet on planet Earth, to be subject to the pull of gravity, the tremble of the fearful heart, to be lost in illusion. That is why you have come, in part. That is not to be held as secondarily important. You have also come to bring the light of the remembering of the truth of self. That is not to be perceived as better or worse. There is no hierarchy here. That is fear's domain, the domain of levels of importance, of better or worse, of more or less evolved, of more awakened, or more deeply and profoundly asleep. Let there be no better nor worse. For wherever there is judgment, there is separation. Wherever there is separation, the angel you cannot be. Now I know, again, these are not new thoughts. In fact, there will never be a new thought. And I know that's a great relief for you to hear. Fear says, wait, there must be one more thing, one more key given, one more idiom recognized, one more formula presented, one more thing. And then the mind says, fear and mind speaking as one, which they most frequently do, though not always. One more proof. And then, yes, fear says, then I will release my domain and allow love and the angel to come in. But haven't you noticed that fear is never satisfied? Haven't you noticed that voice within the mind that says, all right, that's been proven, but wait a minute. There is always a but wait a minute, isn't there? There is always that insatiable hunger for one more thing. And then, fear says, then I will surrender. The truth of it is, fear has no capacity to surrender. And that is part of the illusion. That someday you will convince fear that it's really all right, and that fear can pack its bags and go home. For fear has no home except within the areas of illusion that exist in your own minds. Had you considered that you have created a house for fear to live in? Not only did you create the house, but you sent out the invitation. When you were very, very small, perhaps a day or two old, perhaps a week, if you were fortunate, perhaps a month or two, there came that moment, that rending moment, when you left the oneness, when you were given undeniable definition as other. That moment broke your heart. But it was extremely necessary, for it catapulted you into the journey your soul had chosen. That moment of separation, fear stood clearly before you. And fear said, all right, you're no longer part of the oneness. You have to set that one aside. we will label that one illusion, wishful thinking. We will label memory of home fear, and we will label me standing before you as common sense. Survival, necessary adaptation. Now give me your hand, fear said. I will keep you safe. I will give you an identity. I will give you a place to stand. I will give you a mind to think with and the tools to survive in a strange and fragmented world. And the frightened child had no recourse. Of course, the child said, yes, take my hand. For I have just walked through this strange experience where I have forgotten who I am. And I have no place to go except to follow you. Now, does that mean that you left all love behind? Of course not. You brought your essence with you, but you agreed. It is part of the agreement, if you will, to believe that this illusion is real. And the deep why of that we will touch many times today. For I am sure it is inherent in the questions that you ask. As sure as you are. But for now, let us just accept, as best you can, the tale that I have told you, that you come as angels, you enter willingly into the world of forgetting, and yet you still hold sacred the flame of your remembering within you, not to have it extinguished through travail, but to find the place to bring it forth. And many of you in your lives have found these moments when the remembering came, or when you found yourself speaking words that you did not know where they came from, or moving with courage you had not imagined that you had. But suddenly all forces seemed to come to that moment of now, and you became more than you had intended to become, more than fear had allotted you. You remembered. These were not false moments. They were moments of full and profound truth. When the wall between, the illusory wall between your world and mine, disintegrated in the name of love. For it is only love that can break through the walls of illusion and bring you home. And was it not wondrous, that feast of remembering? And is it not painful, this mode of semi-starvation, when you again deny what you remembered, set aside your angel self, and dive again, deeply and profoundly, into the eddies of illusion? Is that wrong? No. Is the desire to escape that immersion wrong? No, it's part of the sensible response to illusion. And yet, you know there's no escape. Somewhere in your being, you know there's no reason to. You know you have a calling. You know somehow it is cocooned in the forgotten dream, waiting to reform itself so that it has wings. so that it can fly, so that it can be reborn in freedom. Is that not who you are? Take a moment, if you will, to sit with profound respect with the true nature of your being. There is no need for the mind to recall, but there is a great hunger for the heart to remember. Allow that. The allowing is at your fingertips. It is the yes that you say with every breath. Just yes. Let yes open the door. And let the angel that you are and the angels who are with you supply the rest. We will, with your permission, allow many such moments of quiet today. Some more extended than others. Will be an organic process. There is too much noise on your planet. Fear speaks incessantly. Fear has an endless amount of things to say. To continue to weave the spell to keep you asleep. Now, I want to say something, if I might. I do not mean to paint fear as dark or dangerous. It's not. It has been your servant and your friend. Fear has only done what you have instructed it to do, what you have begged it to do in the earliest years of your life. Keep me safe, you said to fear. Tell me who to be, what to do, how to act, what costume to wear, what mask to put before my true self, so that I cannot be seen. Fear's done that. It is now up to you, the adult, the awakening angel, to give fear something else to occupy its time, so that it will not stand as such interference between you and the truth of who you are. Why? Because there's work to be done. There are dreams to manifest. There are wings to be unfurled. There's freedom to be tasted and celebrated. There's light that the darkness of your world is hungry to receive. That's what called you. That's what brought you again into human form. That's why you're here. That's what you've come to do. So whenever fear begins to distract you, and it comes in most reasonable costumes, as you know, one of the most compelling is common sense. Another is logic, reason, continuity. Whatever takes you from the center of your being, whatever, even if it be so briefly it is hardly noticeable, whatever dims the light of your remembering and sullies your dream, know that to be fear. Doing what you asked it to do, or perhaps now willing to receive a lesser assignment. Something like walk with me in traffic. And when a car is coming and I'm not noticing, alert me so that I can step out of the way. But dear fear, please stop chattering when I am remembering who I am. When I am allowing myself to feel the longing, the homesickness. Or when my eyes perceive the shimmering reality of another being and know it to be my own. Then fear, step aside, for that no longer serves me. I have turned the corner of my journey. I'm heading home. And the way home is much more lighted as the way that took me from home into the center of darkness. Will fear listen? Yes. Oh, you'll have to repeat yourself perhaps 1,000 times or more. Eventually fear will listen. It always has. It always does, and it always will. Because the essence of fear is love as well. And I urge you to remember that when you feel fear overwhelming you. No, fear, that's the costume. The essence of you and the essence of me is one. For there is nothing else. How could there be anything else but love, when love is really all there is? I offer you that as a softened perspective when you are locked in the illusion of duality. And so we come to explore the depths of who you are, the nature of your dream, the purpose of your journey, and how can you best and most quickly, for some of you, move into that centered state of self-remembering and to allow it to flow and to function, to become a part of your daily life. Before we move to any sort of question and answer format, I want to again remind you there's nothing you do not know. And I urge you to hold yourself in that tender awe of your own majesty, your own wondrous beingness. And so if you believe there is something you have forgotten, I will be delighted to remind you. If you really believe there's something you don't know, perhaps you and I need to consider this as a call, perhaps, to a journey. A journey? Mine says, what kind of a journey, Emmanuel? Well, an imaginary one. Perhaps to begin with a meditation and then a story.